The Nvidia RTX 5070 is one of the best graphics cards to game at 1440p resolution. However, many people ask me whether or not this graphics card is worth it for 4K resolution as well. And that's why I'm making this video. You see, I have tested the 5070 myself at 4K resolution in high demanding titles, so today I will answer the question on whether or not you should buy the 5070 if you want to play at 4K resolution by testing this graphics card in different games and comparing it with different benchmarks and data. Now, before going into it, I want to say that the 5070 is on a great discount by the time of filming, going for $480, which is $70 cheaper than its MSRP. That's an amazing deal. However, when you're watching this, the price might be different, so I will be leaving this $480 5070 down below in the video description for you to check the latest prices and availability. My name is Valentino. That being said, let's start. Now, let's start by talking about pure performance. And before going there, I want to quickly answer the question on whether or not the 5070 is actually worth it for 4K. The short answer, it depends. And throughout this video, you will find out whether or not this graphics card is right for you, because the answer is not going to be the same for everyone. Now, in terms of pure gaming performance, I have tested the 5070 in plenty of high demanding titles, but for the sake of simplicity, let me show you two high demanding games. The first one is Flight Simulator. This is one of the most high demanding titles out there, and while playing this game, I was testing it in Paris, which is a very high demanding map in Flight Simulator, high-end settings with DLSS quality, and I was achieving well over 60 plus FPS. So let me tell you, this was a very smooth experience, and overall you can play Flight Simulator with no issues with the 5070, even at 4K. And when I turned on frame generation, I was able to achieve well over 100 FPS, which is an insane amount when talking about Flight Simulator. Now, some people don't like frame gen because it's fake frames, but to be honest, in Flight Simulator, it's very well implemented, and I was having a great image quality and a very smooth gaming experience overall. Now, when testing Cyberpunk 2077, which is also a very high demanding game at 4K, high to ultra settings with DLSS balanced, I was achieving well over 70 plus FPS on average, so you can easily play Cyberpunk 2077 with DLSS enabled. And in other high demanding games, I was achieving 60 plus FPS on average native resolution. So yes, if you are using the right settings, you can actually game at 4K 60 plus FPS, which is very smooth performance in high demanding games at 4K with the 5070. However, if you want to use ray tracing, for example, in high demanding games like Hogwarts Legacy, you will have to turn on frame generation in order for the game to be playable. Once again, if you want to play with ray tracing enabled on high to ultra settings. And on top of that, you will also have to turn on DLSS for you to have the best gaming and visual experience. Again, if you want to turn ray tracing on, which I wouldn't recommend you doing with a 5070 at 4K in high demanding games. More on that in just a second. Another thing that's very important is comparing this graphics card with its competitor, the RX 9070 from AMD. Now, the RX 9070 is actually slightly faster when it comes to gaming performance than the 5070, and it has 16 GB of VRAM, which can be a concern for many people at 4K resolution. Now, to be honest, most games will not use more than 12 GB of VRAM even at 4K on high to ultra settings, and the games that do is usually with ray tracing enabled and unplayable. For example, Cyberpunk 2077 ultra settings with ray tracing. And yes, the 9070 has more VRAM, so it's going to be faster, but the frame rate number is going to be very low anyway, and I wouldn't recommend you playing at those settings because it's just going to be unplayable. So it doesn't matter if you get AMD or Nvidia, even though with Nvidia you run out of VRAM, because the FPS numbers do not make any sense. So if you are concerned about VRAM in the future in these high demanding games at 4K, then yes, the 9070 will be the better option because you get more VRAM, but just keep in mind that the price difference is actually quite high by the time of filming, and it's going to cost you at least $80 more, and by the time of filming, as I said before, the 5070 is going on an insane discount, so as of right now, the 9070 is $120 more expensive, just for slightly faster performance, and of course, more VRAM. So let me give you a conclusion, because again, the answer will not be the same for everyone, and even though the 5070 is amazing for 1440p, and I would recommend you buying a 1440p monitor, if you will buy this graphics card, you can actually have an amazing experience at 4K if you are using the right settings, especially if you're willing to turn on DLSS balanced or DLSS quality, which, to be fair, I don't think this is a bad thing because you are not spending as much as the 5070 Ti or as a 5080, and you are getting great gaming performance, and to be honest, DLSS quality or balanced will give you an amazing image quality as well. When I was testing these settings, I could not notice a difference in real life between DLSS quality and native resolution, and of course there's going to be some geek in the comment section saying like, oh, if you zoom in 200%, then you're going to spot in the difference. Yeah, sure, geek. And the answer is yes, of course, if you zoom in, you are going to spot the difference, you geek. But that is not the real life experience. So in real life, I couldn't notice the difference, and for the price that you're paying, especially right now, the 5070 is a great deal for under $500 or for around $520 most of the time, which is still below its MSRP. Now, if you are hoping to play at 4K native resolution and you may want to turn on ray tracing from time to time, but you do not want to rely on DLSS, especially in these high demanding games on high to ultra settings, then yes, I wouldn't recommend you buying the 5070, and I would recommend you at least a 5070 Ti or a 9070 XT, or even better, the RTX 5080 or 5090, but I highly doubt that you are looking those graphics cards as real options when you were looking at the 5070, because the 5080 and 5090 are way more expensive. And on the other hand, if you are debating whether or not you should get the AMD 9070 or RTX 5070 and you are going to buy one of the two, well, let me try to make it easy for you. If you want the best pure price to performance, so you want to get the best value, go with the RTX 5070. You are spending around $80 to $120 less and achieving very similar gaming performance. And as I said before, even at 4K with the VRAM difference, for most games, you are not going to be using more than 12 gigs of VRAM, and when you are using more VRAM, the game will be just unplayable for both graphics cards. So I would say go with the 5070 once again, especially if you are considering the price. Now, if you just want slightly faster performance and you're scared that VRAM will be an issue in the next year or two at 4K resolution in the newer games that are coming in the next few years, then yes, I would recommend you spending the extra and going with the RX 9070. However, keep in mind that the most important thing here, whether you go with the 9070 or RTX 5070 or 5070 Ti, whichever graphics card, the most important thing is that you do not bottleneck your graphics card. The CPU and every other PC component are very important when not bottlenecking your graphics card, because if you are bottlenecking your GPU, it doesn't matter what type of game you play or at which resolution, you are not going to be getting the full performance that you are hoping for. That being said, if you want no bottlenecks inside of your PC, I highly recommend you watching my video on the best PC builds of the month for every budget and every resolution, where I go over gaming PCs with no bottlenecks. That way you achieve the fastest performance for the price that you are paying. You will find that video in the top right corner of the screen. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.